All right, in this segment, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be solving quadratic equation using the factorization method. All right, so we have a number of examples to look at. So let us look at number 1. 8y squared plus 6y is equal to -1. At this moment, we're not able to make any move because everything needs to be equal to 0. Therefore, we have to get rid of that -1. We're going to apply the inverse operation to -1, which is to add 1 to both sides. And when we do so, let's rewrite what we have really. We basically have 8y squared plus 6y plus 1. And this is equal to 0. Now that we have it like that, what we want to do is to highlight what is A, what is B, and what is C. A is equal to 8. The B is equal to +6, and C is equal to 1. Now we're going to try to find AC, which is A times C, which is 8 times 1, and this is 8. So 8 times 1 is 8. What are the possible pairs of numbers that could multiply to give 8 and add to give 6? Let's list the factor pairs of 8. 1 times 8, 2 times 4. Remember, though, that we need to be able to add them to get to 6. So definitely, this can't work, and 2 and 4 will work. When AC is positive, it's 2 negative things, or we have 2 positive things. Because if you do multiply these, we will get back 8. So then, we now need to decide which one of these combinations we use. Let B decide. Since AC is positive, then let B decide. Any sign B has, then we're going to be using that pair. So B is positive, so we're going to be using the positive pairs. Now let's go. 8y squared plus 2y plus 4y plus 1 is equal to 0. At this time, we're going to factorize by grouping. We're going to be grouping these two, and we're going to be grouping those two together. Now let's look at them. What is common for the first pair? 2y. 2y into 8y squared, that's going to give us 4y. 2y into 2y is +1. If you notice, though, +1 is the factor that we'll need such that 1 into 4y is 4y, and 1 into 1 is 1. You do notice that the two brackets are now the same, which means that we're on a good path. Let us refactorize. Writing the common factor down, 4y plus 1. And then we refactorize, we're going to have 4y plus 1 into all of this. We're left with 2y, and then on the other side, plus 1. This is equal to 0. A short way of doing this is to say that we'll write back one of these, just one. And the other two things that are on the outside, for example, the 2y and the +1, they'll come in this bracket, as you could see. Now, let's move forward. If two things multiply to give a negative number, let's think about the zero product. One would be a 0 or both. And we don't know, so we'll say either 4y plus 1 is equal to 0, or 2y plus 1 is equal to 0. Let's solve it. What we're going to do here is that we're going to subtract 1 from both sides. 4y is equal to -1. Dividing both sides by 4, then you could see that y is equal to -1/4 for that. On the other side, we'll subtract 1 from both sides here for the next situation. 2y is equal to -1. And if we should divide both sides by 2, then y is equal to -1/2. Remember, the other solution was that y was equal to -1/4. So here are our two solutions for this case. All right, let's look. What if we have -4x squared plus 5x? This is +6, and this is equal to 0. Then let us firstly, since it is equal to 0, let's write down our a which is negative 4, B, which is 5, and C, which is 6. AC is negative 4 times 6, which is negative 24. We need two numbers that could go into 24 or negative 24. And when you add them, you will get a 5. But let's list the possible combinations. 1 times 24, 2 times 12, 3 times 8, and 4 times 6. These are all the possible combinations that could work, but only one would definitely work. So we're looking at which one of these we could get a 5 from, because they should add to give you back a B. 24 can't work. The 2 and the 12 can't work. The 4 and the 6 can't work. The 3 and the 8 can produce a 5. So let's take them out by the side here underneath. Now remember though that AC is negative. Therefore, one of the number will be negative and one will be positive. Whenever we're in that situation, let the bigger one take any sign B has. B is positive here. So because B is positive, then the 8 is positive and the 3 is negative. We're going to take these two terms here, attach my bad here. This is X, I said Y, right? So the variable is X. So let us go. So we're going to write down now negative 4x squared minus 3x plus 8x plus 6, and that's equal to 0. We're going to group them in pairs. So we're going to group these two together and then those two together. Let's go ahead and factorize. So we're looking now at x, which is the common factor. X into negative 4x squared is going to give you negative 4x. And x into negative 3x will give us negative 3. Now I'm going to use a negative 2 because I want my brackets to come back. So a negative 2 into a positive 8x will give me negative 4x. And a negative 2 into a positive 6 will give me negative 3. Close my bracket, and this is equal to 0. Now at this time, you'll see that we'll have a twin bracket. So we could write back one of these, and the two things on the outside, which is the x and the negative 2, they would go in another bracket. So we have x minus 2, and this is equal to 0. Again, the 0 product works because two things multiply to give a 0. Either the negative 4x minus 3 is equal to 0, or the x minus 2 is equal to 0. Now, what we can do here is simply add 3 to both sides. So then negative 4x is equal to 3. We're going to divide by negative 4, balance the equation there. So one of the answers should be negative 3/4. Now let's go for the other answer. So the other answer is as follows. What we're going to do is to add 2 to both sides. Then x is equal to 2. So my answers are that x is equal to 2, or x is equal to negative 3/4 x squared minus 13x, and this is equal to negative 6. Again, because it is not equal to 0, we cannot start yet. It's our responsibility to ensure that it is equal to 0 first. We're going to do so by adding 6 to both sides. Now let's rewrite this. So this is what we have. 5x squared minus 13x plus 6 equal 0. So that's the case. At this time, we want to list what is A, what is B, what is C, when everything is equal to 0. So A is the coefficient of the square, which is 5. B is the coefficient of x, which is negative 13. And C is the constant, which is 6. Now from here, we would like to see AC, which is 5 times 6, and this is 30. What are the possible things that could go into 30? And when you add them, you get back 30. Let's list the possible combinations. 1 times 30, 2 times 50, 3 times 10, and 5 times 6. Now, at this moment, we might be saying we're seeing 2 things that could give a 30. Definitely we are. But based on the context of AC, if AC is positive, it's either we're going to have 2 positive or 2 negatives. Now, if we have 2 positive here, we'll end up with a 70. If we have 2 negative, we'll still end up with a 70. So this cannot work, neither that nor that. So it has to be 3 and 10. Now let's look on the situation. Our B value here is a negative number, which means we have to work with a negative case, 2 negatives. Let's fit them in. So we have 5x squared minus 10x minus 3x plus 6, and this is equal to 0. Now we're going to factorize these, then we factorize those. 5x is the common factor here. 5x into 5x squared is x, and 5x into negative 10x is negative 2. I need to ensure that I get the same thing here. So I'm going to take out negative 3. Negative 3 into negative 3x is going to give me positive x, and negative 3 into positive 6 will give me negative 2. And then my 2 brackets are the same. Now let's factorize again by just writing down the common factor, x minus 2, open a bracket, and the 2 things on the outside, which is the 5x and the minus 3, will go in the other bracket, and this is still equal to 0. Remember the zero product rule though, that if 2 things multiply to give a 0, then either one of them could be the 0 or both. So x minus 2 is equal to 0, or 5x minus 3 is equal to 0. Now, if we go ahead and add 2 to both sides here, then for this one of the solution will be that x is equal to 2. On the other hand, we're going to be adding 3 there. So 5x is now equal to 3. So now we'll divide both sides by 5. The other answer will be x is equal to 3/5. So here are my 2 answers. One is saying that x is equal to 2, and the other one says that x is equal to 3/5. All right, let's go to the final one. We could take one more. I'm going to fix that. Let us say I have 3x squared and a minus 7x minus 6, and this is equal to 0. Well, first thing to check for, is it equal to 0? It's a quadratic, it's equal to 0. Well, we're ready to go. So what we're going to do is to isolate our a, which is the coefficient of the square of x, is 3. B, coefficient of x, it's a negative 7. And c is the constant, which is negative 6. Let us find AC, and AC is 3 times negative 6, and this is negative 18. At this moment, what we want to do is to list the possible things that could go into 18 or negative 18, and when you add them, you get a 7. We're going to list all the factor pairs of 18 though. 1 times 18 is a possibility. 2 times 9 is a possibility. 3 times 6 is a possibility. So there are limited possibilities that could work. Which one of these could give a 7? Well, definitely 1 and 18 can never give a 7. 3 and 6 can never give a 7. But the 2 and the 9, we could see that a 7 is possible. Okay, so we have 2 and we have 9 to look at. Now remember though that if AC is negative and 2 things should multiply to give back a negative number, 1 will be positive and 1 will be negative. The rule says let the bigger one take any sign B has. B is a negative 7, which means the 9 is going to be negative and the 2 will be positive. These terms here will take the place of the negative 7 right here. Not only that, the variable attached to them will be x. So let us go 3x squared plus 2x minus 9x minus 6 equals 0. We want to factorize by grouping, so we're going to group these two, and then we group those two. Let's continue. X is the common factor of the first pair. X into 3x squared is 3x, and x into positive 2x is positive 2. I need to ensure that when I carry out the second factorization, I do have 3x plus 2. So I'll be using negative 3, such that negative 3 into negative 9x will give me 3x, and negative 3 into negative 6 will give me a positive 2. And this is still equal to 0. At this moment, I'm seeing a common term, 3x plus 2, so I should write back the common factor 3x plus 2. When I refactorize, then we'll have x here and the minus 3 here. Well, there's a short way we could look at it. We could say we write back one of these brackets that is the same. And the two things on the outside, which is the x and the minus 3, will form the next bracket. At this time, the zero product thing must come into consideration. Two things multiplied to give us 0. Then we have to say it's either this piece, which is a 3x plus 2, that is equal to 0, or the x minus 3, that is equal to 0. Well, let's continue by solving. For the first piece, we'll minus 2 from both sides. So what we are left with is 3x, which is equal to negative 2. Finally, we will divide by 3 so that we cancel. Balancing the equation, we divide by 3. For this one, x is equal to negative 2/3. On the other hand, the other solution, we'll be adding 3, because it's a negative 3. So we'd have to add 3 to the other side. Let's rewrite. X is equal to 3. So here it is that we have our two solutions. 1, x is equal to 3, and 2, x is equal to negative 2/3. So there we have it, factorizing to solve a quadratic equation. See you next time.